Musk is being backed up by his partner in Trump's government efficiency initiative, Vivek Ramaswamy. He says it's a cultural issue that there aren't more competitive engineers in the U.S. Here's what he said online. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers.
So where do we find these people with this superior culture where they don't celebrate the jocks? They celebrate the Urkels. There's 4.8 million East Indians in the United States. Here's a list of companies that East Indians are the CEO of. I think their rise in the United States is why they believe the United States culture is so backwards. I don't understand when people coming to America became the cream of the crop. Definitely not in the very beginning. And there was a lot of plagues going during these, right after or around the Civil War. And it definitely wasn't the cream of the crop in 1920. As a matter of fact, what's written on the Statue of Liberty is poor and huddled masses. Adding on top of that, the idea that a diploma equals intellect. I don't know when that happened. I understand that by having a diploma could signify knowledge or information, but I don't know when having a diploma would mean that you're smart or that you were the cream of the crop.
Well, first of all, an H-1B visa isn't limited to STEM graduates, people are going to come out in computer engineering, those types of things. It's really broader category than that. And so I was looking at a couple of studies yesterday. H-1B visa recipients who are in the U.S., they tend to get paid less than U.S. citizens. They work longer hours. They're tied to one company. They can't leave. All those benefit the ownership. And so I understand why people who own the companies want the H-1B visas. But the other aspect of it is, when you do skills test and assessment, another report I was looking at said, well, you know, USA STEM graduates, of which there's a surplus right now for jobs, and they can't get those jobs because they're competing with H-1B visas, they do better. And the last point to make here is, this isn't just, nobody's trying to say no more H-1B visas. What Elon and others are trying to do is they're trying to expand the number of H-1B visas and not necessarily even limit it to categories. And we have to really look at that possibly at some point. But right now, let's get a hold of our border and the millions of people who've come into this country illegally and try to resolve that first.
Yeah.
The idea that unskilled labor would have to compete with immigrants that are being given free food, free housing, and free medical is unfair. And the idea that when someone graduates from college, they're no longer going to be competing with their peers. They're going to have to compete with spoilers who are, for the most part, just working for a visa. That also seems unfair. This is not immigration. This is the destruction of the middle class. So, more than 70,000 people died from fentanyl overdose last year. All of these deaths have put a stressor on the workforce. And the solution to that stressor is to bring in immigrants. The cost of raising a child is ridiculous. So now we have these horrible birth rates. And once again, the solution to these horrible birth rates, bring in more immigrants. And now we're finding out that we've been watching too much Family Matters and Friends, and we've been cheering for the jocks when we should have been cheering for the nerds. There's no way of fixing this. the only thing that we can do is to bring in more immigrants.